Okay, well, before I
Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome to our 5th ECR Community Category Management Network webinar of 2021. Delighted to welcome you to today. Let me welcome on a few of our panelists for today. First of all, let me welcome Brian Harris from LA and Luc de Milleneur from Belgium. You're more than welcome, guys. Good afternoon or good morning, wherever you are.
Good morning.
Hi, Brian, and also welcome Gabriela and Juliana, who are dialing in from Brazil, and Karl, who's dialing in from Ireland. Good morning, Gabriela and Juliana, and good afternoon, Karl.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So let me put into context for everybody. I'm delighted so many are joining us today. This is the 5th webinar and part of our series of the publication of cases that we had in November 2020, which is just about a year ago. Category management yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And the ECR community review of current practices, which you all know at this stage can be downloaded from the ECR community website. And we've run 4 webinars so far this year. The first 3 earlier on in the year, where we focused on cases from Canada, Germany, Ireland, Italy, China, France, and a recent one in September, where we had Mars in Greece and Birapinoli in Italy. Fantastic presentations. So today we're going to hear from Nestle Brazil, from Heineken in Ireland, and from Raia Drogasil in Brazil, presented by Juliana from dunnhumby, who worked with ORD on those presentations. And here's the agenda, as I said, for today. And all of you who've joined in would have seen this agenda on the introduction panel when you went to register. And we've got a nice mixture of presentations today. And Brian, this was the 6 focus areas that we initially divided all of our cases into when we had the publication last year. And I think today's presentations fit in very well within this context.
Yes, good morning, everybody, and again, thank you so much for joining, and from all over the world. We really appreciate it. One of the neat things about this whole project has been just the unbelievable global interest in this work, which really makes us feel good, because category management's been around for 30 years now, and to see such interest continuing around the world, enthusiastic interest actually, is really tremendous. So it bodes very well for the future, the fact that category management has very successfully evolved to the changing circumstances and so on. In the report, one of the key elements of the report were the 14 case studies that were collected, so to speak, to be included in the report. And what Luke and I wanted to do was to have case studies that kind of reflect where category management is today and what's driving category management initiatives. And then secondly, in the future, what are going to be some of those key areas where category management is going to be deployed by retailers and manufacturers around the world. So when we thought about that, we felt there were these 6 areas were kind of driving, they're going to shape category management into the future. So what we tried to do was get cases that reflected one or more of these particular focus areas. And I think today we have some very interesting examples. For example, the Heineken Ireland case that Karl's going to present, it really, to us at least, fits into that first one, the refining categories to reflect new consumption habits, new lifestyles, new expectations of the consumer about the category, in this case, beer. And so it's a wonderful example of how a traditional category and an opportunity within that category was adjusted, remarketed to really reflect these changing consumption habits, lifestyles, and expectations of the consumer. The Brazil retailer, Raia Drogasil, is again an example of a couple of these, but in particular, it's a wonderful example of how of number 4 here, which is joint brand building collaboration between the retailer and manufacturers. A great example of how a retailer working together with manufacturers is able to really transform what is a very complex set of subcategories. And Gabriela is going to explain to us today how that was done. So I think, it was very interesting example of how really top class collaboration built upon the right kind of database from both the retailer and the manufacturer was able to come together to really address a very complex category management issue. And then lastly, we have the situation from one of the keys in the report was to really get to show that category management is alive and well in different countries, and in particular in different channels. Okay, so that was really the key. So again, we had in today's cases, you're going to hear cases that a case from Nestle in Brazil, for example, which is a wonderful example of how category management is being applied in the pharmacy channel in Brazil. Now, the Raia Drogasil case also reflects that, but this is again an example of the kind of expansion of category management around the world into these other channels, such as pharmacy, such as do-it-yourself, and so on and so forth. So we believe today that the cases you hear really do reflect one or more of these particular areas that are driving category management into the future. So at that point, I think, I believe, Gabriela, you're going to present first. So I'm going to hand over the stage to you. And again, thank the three of you for your willingness to participate and share your experience. Thank you.
Okay, let me know when you see my screen.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, can I start? So good afternoon or good morning from wherever you are. I'm Gabriela Machado. I am Category Management Manager here at Nestle, and I'm super excited to show you a little bit about what we're doing here in Brazil with the pharmacy and drug stores channel. Well, I don't need to tell you, but English is not my mother language, so excuse me if I make some misspellings. And I want to thank you all for the opportunity. So I will take you through the background of the project and then methodology, implementation, and results. The first thing I wanted to walk you all through is about the category itself. So I don't know if all of you have children, but the baby's first 1,000 days is very important and key to their development throughout life. So we see that the baby will triplicate weight until they are 1 year old. We're also talking about immunological system, cognitive development, and metabolic program that will affect them throughout their life. So this is why an infant nutrition category is super important, because there are some special vitamins and other compounds that are very important to them through this phase. So we have some solutions during these to 0 until 5 years old. And we start off with infant formula, which is the substitute for breast milk when needed. So this product range is directed to babies until they are 1 year old. This is a very strict segment because we cannot promote them or talk about it, because we cannot. We have a very strict legislation, and we cannot talk about infant formula. But when needed, it needs to be available on stores. First childhood formula is a new segment. So from 1 to 3 years old, the baby and the child, the toddler, can have access to all of these types of products here. And then until they get to preschool, they have growing up milk, some other formats. So we have from super premium, premium, mainstream options. In infant formula, we also have some products with special needs, zero lactose. So there's a range of variations that can offer them what they need. And we also have baby food and infant cereal, which is category, a subcategory that is still in development in Brazil, especially baby food that can help them into eating habits from 6 months old on, and infant cereal, which is for porridge preparations and also for sustenance. So just to talk a little bit about Brazil and the project methodology. So Brazil, as many of you know, is a continentally sized country, and it means that we have different markets all around one country. So we need to take that into account when we're doing a category management project like this. We had a few projects in 2019, but when 2020, we really wanted to get everywhere. So in Brazil, Nestle is the leader player for infant nutrition and has sellout growth above market. And we have to remember that this is a category mainly driven by necessity. So of course, if you don't have a child, you're probably not going to be a shopper here. And for pharmacies, it represents 80% of total category sellout. The channel's mission is mainly convenience and specialized nutrition, and infant nutrition is destination category. And we also have to remember that it's a highly emotional category, and the point of sales must reflect that and be prepared to answer some questions so that the shopper feels shattered. We also have two go-to-market strategies. The first one is pharma chains, which is direct sales. So this is where we can actually go to customers and talk them through the strategy and do category management full project. And we also have the indirect channel, which our role is to provide information to smaller retailers. When we go to shopper and market trends for infant formulas, as I mentioned, this is driven by medical demand and we cannot promote them. So if we don't have the right assortment, we might lose that shopper because they are only going to buy what their child is used to or has been prescribed by a doctor. Growing up milk is the subcategory that contributes the most to the category growth, and we see here the true opportunity of the whole category, since we have an opportunity of more toddlers going to this category, and we know that we have a challenge versus regular milk, which is cheaper. And baby food and baby cereal has huge potential in increasing the shopper's spending ticket and providing a complete solution. So as you see here, we have a lot of challenges when we started off. So we have the constant sellout growth over the years, sometimes double digit, and our challenge is to keep on growing. We know that birth rate is decreasing, so this affects the number of consumers, but we have the opportunity of these other segments that still have a huge sea to navigate on. We cannot promote infant formula, and the main one, which is physical space limitation. So this is why category management sounds to be the great solution to solve all of those problems, with assortment optimizations, execution on point of sales, and taking into consideration shopper and market insights. Our main objectives were to generate shopper market insights, to make the category evolve constantly, because we see that year after year it is developing, and also building and strengthening relationship with customers, providing category knowledge, and guaranteeing excellence in execution. And all of this measured by number of category management competencies acquired, number of planograms developed, number of implemented stores, and when we could, other CRM growth KPIs such as increase in penetration, sales frequency, average ticket, and so on. Going through the project implementation for those direct customers with full Catman projects. We started off by taking a look at all the main customers and meeting with them to sign out a confidentiality contract so we could have access to sellout database monthly. And we defined those main customers based on how much they represented in Brazil in net sales for Nestle, and also if they had the structure to go through a project like this. And then we went through a category diagnosis with opportunities identification, comparing all of the segments in with market. So this is a very complex part because we need to take into consideration the socioeconomic level of each store and clusterize all the stores. Just so you know, some of the biggest pharma chains have over 2,000 stores around Brazil. So we need to do that to clusterize the assortment and our analysis. So the next level, assortment, to make sure that we have all the items that have fit with that store. And we also took into consideration sales value and volume. And then planogram execution, which is also a challenge since we have limited physical space, and we developed a guideline to POS execution. And after that, we have the performance mensuration, which is deeper analysis 3 months post rollout, so to see if we need to change something, and monthly business reviews. So this never stops. I know this is a project that we're talking that happened last year, but up to this moment, we are still going through all of this and updating our work. For indirect channel, we trained more than 200 drug chains, and we partnered with associations such as Febrafar and Retail Pharma. So this here is an example of the planogram, and this the regular space that we have for this category. So the rationale according to age consumption journey, starting from 0 to 12 months old, special need infant formula and regular infant formula, and also fair share according to subcategories and brands market share. So we have baby food and baby cereal, growing up milk, and infant supplement and milk. So this is another example. Here we only have Nestle's products, but when we do the project, of course, we have all of the items. So very small space. And here are the results. So some pictures, so you can see how that works out in practice when we on live stores. And some quantitative results. We doubled our number of captaincies that we had in 2019 within the pharma channel. So here we can cover almost 91% of selling to this direct channel. We developed over 250 different planograms considering specific clustering, so category size in store, region, and socioeconomic profile. We implemented in over 5,000 stores, and we had an average result of 2.7 sellout growth above market and a significant increase in market share for infant formulas. And we also had some qualitative results that are very important, that are a foundation for what we're doing right now, which is building and strengthening relationship with customers, reinforcing leadership perception within the category, generating shopper and market insights to make the category evolve constantly, and guaranteeing excellence in execution by providing qualification to retailers. And also, this generated another great result for us, which is that Nestle was rated as third supplier in category development in 2020 by Advantage, which is an institute that have that every year takes on a survey where retail evaluates industry, and industry evaluates retail, and we moved up from such 8 positions from previous year. So this is a good practice model of category management that we still follow to this day with other categories and other channels. So I don't know if I'm okay with timing, but this is what I had to show you. So thank you. And now I think we're up for a talk, right?
Gabriela, thank you so much. You're perfect for timing.
Okay.
What a project. You talked earlier in the publication last year about some of your biggest challenges. What do you think they were, and how do you think you have overcome them since?
I think that the first thing is to really understand the store in question, not make a standard project for every store. So sometimes we think that just because a product is not selling, having a good sellout rate at one store, then you can take that off the assortment for the whole chain, and it's not true. Sometimes it starts to decrease because we took that item off. So I think that the first parts of the project, that is the briefing and the context in which you're working on, is the main challenge, because we don't have space. So it's not a matter of mark or of share of shelf. Sometimes it's a matter of having this item or not. So you definitely have to have the main items, but also look forward and always update the information, because this is a category that every year develops some subcategories. They grow 30% per year, so we definitely need to know the different types of stores and always update the analysis so you meet shoppers' needs.
Really, I think this is a fantastic case, and I would like to give 3 points really that impressed me. The first one is that, you know, systematically you talk to retailers and you try to understand what is their way to go to market, and you do that by learning, you know, in which areas their stores operate and who makes, I guess, 70-80% of their sales, and you adapt your category strategy to that. And secondly, you know, by diving from that general information down to an assessment of the category that takes into account all of these factors, you're able to give content to the role of the category. And I think it's these two things that lead to a fantastic result and a perception that Nestlé is doing a strong effort to work together with the customer, being appreciated through, you know, this rating of advantage that is really moving you up the ladder, I would say. So congratulations, great work, and very practical also. Amazingly practical, yes, and very strong. Very impressive. Thank you very much, Gabriela.
Thank you, Al.
I think the one thing I would add is that, like all these cases, I mean, there's no shortcut way to do good category management work, right? I mean, this case and this project took a lot of work. There are a lot of integrated steps that had to be put into place, right? See, you know, a lot of people think that, hey, category management, hey, come up with a new assortment and a new planogram, and that's category management. Well, we know that that's putting, you know, the cart in front of the horse, right? All the heavy work happens before that. And there's got to be a disciplined approach, step by step, before you get to what are the right tactical solutions for that particular opportunity, right? So again, Gabriela, as you pointed out, I mean, this project was a lengthy project, a lot of resource commitment, but it was very disciplined, step by step. You drove it off data. You had very clear strategic goals, and then you connected those goals to the goals of your retail customers, and then you had a solution which made sense to those retail customers. Secondly, as Luke said, you were able to tailor it, customize it, right? This wasn't one solution fits all. Okay, we have a solution. We have the Nestle solution. We're going to just roll it out through the whole channel in Brazil. No. You actually went retailer by retailer, down to store cluster by store cluster, and I'm sure in some cases down to store by store.
Yes,
so it's
definitely.
a very, you know, right. So it's a very complex set of moving pieces, which means you have to have this very clearly defined set of steps to go through. You can't do a shortcut. You can't just go in and say, we're going to change the planogram. That's never going to lead to the right solution. You have to have a very systematic, detailed, logical way of doing it. And look what happens. Here's a channel that's very fragmented in Brazil. I've done quite a lot of work in Brazil myself. It's a very fragmented channel. It's an emerging channel. It's growing quickly, but they don't have in many ways the discipline of the big chain hypermarkets and supermarkets, right? So in many ways, you are educating your customers in terms of how you can bring value to their business, but importantly, you are fitting it to their opportunities. You weren't enforcing a Nestle solution on a customer without having a very logical process that got you to the recommendation that you felt was right for that particular customer. So as Luke said, Gabriela, great work. Thank you so much for you and your team. Really appreciate it. And it's just wonderful to see this work, this kind of work and this kind of quality.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gabriela, and thanks, Brian and Luke. Great value add there. Let's go to our next speaker today from Dublin in Ireland, welcoming Karl O'Rourke from Heineken. And Karl's going to talk about, what to do, a great example of what to do when you need to reflect new consumption habits in what is an established category. How are you, Karl? If you just move to presentation mode there, we can see your slides all right.
Okay, can you see it okay? Perfect. So, afternoon or good morning, everyone. So I'm Karl O'Rourke from Heineken Ireland, and I'm going to take you through our zero zone approach to transforming no alcohol drinks category in the Irish market. So I want to first begin by giving a little bit of context on the non-alcohol category in Ireland and the acceleration of the category scene really since 2018. So for years, this was a segment that had been a very small part of the alcohol category, amounting to less than 1%. And it had been very stagnant and offered what we thought was very little by way of growth potential. Then in 2018, we launched Heineken 0.0 with a pretty modest ambition. We were aware of the health and wellness trends that were coming through in other categories, as well as the ongoing decline in alcohol consumption with the younger generations in the Irish market. And we wanted to offer these consumers the choice of Ireland's #1 lager brand, and what we also believed was the best tasting option available and would help to break down some of the taste barriers that the non-alcohol category often suffers from. Over the next year, the category became the fastest growing segment in total alcohol. It more than doubled in size, and Heineken became the #1 brand and captured over 55% market share. And soon, which not just in the context of overall non-alcoholic were we big, but in terms of total Heineken, 1 in every 20 Heineken sold in Ireland by 2019 was a Heineken 0. So there was a seismic shift really over the course of those 2 years. And this success then obviously began to attract a lot more newcomers into the market, and we've seen the range over the course of the period double in size. So we were in a great place with the brand and also in terms of the category performance, but we needed to really pause and ask, is there more that we can do? Then we've done some shopper research to try and understand if there were any barriers that we could uncover for the category in order to unlock further growth potential. And we found out that taste was no longer a barrier. People were happy with the new taste. But one thing that was an issue was that people didn't actually know where to look for non-alcoholic products. They didn't know whether they'd be found in the alcohol aisle, in the soft drinks aisle, or if they shop for them next to the parent brands. So it became very clear that in order to maximise the potential of the category, the #1 priority for us needed to be really how do we improve visibility and create its own clear segmentation within store. So as well as developing and upgrading to a shiny new can, we started working on this new concept to try and really create a strong category destination within store. We set out with 3 key objectives when we started this project. The first was to make sure that we unlocked the max potential of growth for this category by removing this barrier. The second one was to design a solution that would stand out in store, but it could also be modified for any channel and was really scalable. We weren't interested in doing something that looked great in one store and then didn't really progress beyond that. And we also wanted to create this in partnership with our customers as a solution that would be consistent and recognizable across the total trade. So all projects have to start somewhere, and for us this was with the name design. So when it came to name design, we wanted to create something that would deliver a clear messaging to the shopper and could be used to house all non-alcoholic products, all retailers. So too heavily in favour of Heineken or any particular retailer. We wanted something that customers and shoppers could walk into any retailer in Ireland and immediately identify it as the non-alcoholic segment.
Hey, Karl, just a quick question. I'm not too sure if there's something just off the microphone or the double sound. Poor quality.
Okay. Sorry.
Is it? It's rubbing off.
Let me try. It might be my hands on the laptop. Does it sound okay now? Any better?
A little bit better, yeah. Okay, thanks.
Okay, sorry. So we use test and learn was a big part of this project as well. So we use learnings from a concept store to understand what features stood out best to shoppers and what were the most disruptive, and how the category sales performed versus the control stores to get a real steer on what the uplift would be and if this is worth scaling. And once we were happy, it was time to then take this up to our customers. Yeah. Sorry, let me know if these slides are changing. It seems to have frozen. So we were fortunate to get buy-in from our customers very early on. With health and wellness so high on the agenda for Irish shoppers, this aligned perfectly with the priorities of our key retail partners. We shared our category vision and the potential for the non-alcoholic category. And once we shared our shopper feedback on the difficulty finding the category in store, it was agreed that store presence needed to be the #1 priority and the singular focus for category success. We shared and fed back some of our design concepts, and once we were agreed on what this would look like for the stores, we got to work. Collaboration was really one of the big priorities of this project, and it was something that we knew we'd need throughout and across a multitude of different departments in order to be successful. Not only in designing planograms for what was a vastly increasing number of entrants into the segment, but also in tailoring the units at a store level. We needed to work across a multitude of functions from category management, trade marketing and commercial, as well as staying really close to our agency partners, SEL, who helped develop, and our field team who had to design and implement the zones for each store. Needless to say, it wasn't without problems, but as a scalable total market solution, we underestimated how few stores were the same and that each store presented different challenges to work through. However, we worked through this, and some of the early results can be seen here. Through consistent communication and the shared vision that we had with our retailers, we got there. We knew we started off that we wanted to extend the footprint across the market, which required a different solution depending on the store types. Even in a small market like Ireland, different regions, different suppliers were a little bit behind in the trend or hadn't quite caught up on where the market was. So no two stores were the same and every one of them was going to need something different. So for the convenience channel, we knew that this would really need to prioritise shelf solutions, and that we wanted to create a solution which could live inside the chiller, where we knew that over 90% of shoppers chose when shopping within the convenience section. While in supermarkets, where we had a little bit more space to play with, we worked with the retailers to locate the best zones within stores and within the aisles to best disrupt the shoppers. And we even came up with a solution for a wholesale, which helped to separate the non-alcoholic segment from what was a very clustered alcohol segment within store. And we've kicked on even further from those original installs as the categories continue to grow. Retailers really want to help, and we want to take the lead in how they use this segment. And it's now become essentially a signpost for the off license in larger stores. And it's moved from a category that shoppers initially reported as not being able to find to a category that now in certain stores can't be missed. And we've extended the footprint over the last 2 years to now over 75% of the market. In terms of the results and the impact that had on the category, the results proved to us that it was the right thing to do, and have encouraged us to continue implementing this. We now have zero zones in over 75%, and there's plans to roll it out into even more stores in 2020. The zones have been instrumental in bringing new shoppers into the category, the majority of which are actually been incremental and previously didn't shop the beer category at all. So 57% growth in the number of shoppers that shop the category. And the sales uplift following instalments was 50% versus the previous months before these were in place, as well as accelerating the Heineken Zero rate of sale by 35% after instalment, which of course means that we actually fell back a little bit in share. But given our position in the market as market leaders, the priority for us was always setting up the category for long-term success. So some of the key learnings that we really took from the project and try to bring forward into future projects is really about being single-minded and focusing on the problem that we're trying to solve. Sharing our vision with customers at a top-down level and then across, as well as consistent communication with stakeholders throughout. The kind of motto throughout the duration of this project was over-communicate. And so we're glad that it's continuing to roll out and continuing to see success right into 2022. I'm hoping you were able to hear all of that, or the majority of it. I'm not sure how the connection was.
Karl, thanks so much. We could hear you all right. I'd love to hear it. I'll just turn off your mic. One quick question from me, Karl. How did you convince to place new equipment for what was basically a new and a low developed category with the region?
Yeah, like I said, the retailers got into it quite early on, but it definitely it had its challenges from selling in. Like I said, it was a category that was worth about 0.5% a year before we came forth with this. And even with the huge growth that it had, and it was still very small in terms of its overall share of LAD. But where it was key to it was the fact that it aligned with all of the retailer priorities as well. It fed into this health and wellness trend, as well as the reduction in consumption that we knew was consistently coming through in the Irish market year on year. People were drinking less and less. But it was also the generations. It was these younger drinkers and these younger shoppers that were that are seeing the highest decline, I guess, in their overall consumption rate, as well as within their repertoires. They're the ones that are most open to new things, and they're the most open to actually trialing non-alcoholic products. So it was very much about future-proofing the category and kind of focusing on that health and wellness trend that was coming through.
Karl, I think back in 2017 at the ECR conference in Dublin, I was there and I saw the launch of this 0.0, and it was a great presentation. And today I see a fantastic rollout of the work that you guys have been doing. Absolutely great. I'm very impressed. I just wanted to structurally make some comments on this, which, positive comments, of course. My point is always, category management needs a category vision to actually get people within the company and outside working. And I see always four components. It's the innovation that comes from the consumer into the shopper, which is the zero alcohol, this new lifestyle. People are into this, building a growth platform, and then bringing that to life in the consumer shopper journey. And I think in each of these three elements, you have made a difference by not only being the first in Ireland to launch an innovative brand variant, but also by making that alive within retail, customized by channel, and radiating the vision, and also quantifying the vision and making that happen. And in that sense, it's true collaboration, it's innovation, and it shows also that the role of the manufacturer in creating new value and investing as a manufacturer in a new consumer insight is absolutely critical for the success of good category management. And collaboration is everything there, but you have to make the move, the insights, the consumer insights, the shopper insights. You've built it nicely together into a vision and made it to life. Because back in 2017, I saw the ideas of bringing that to life, and I was thinking to myself, how the hell are these guys going to make this work within the retailers? That was just a start at that time. But if I look now, what you've done with it, I mean, this is really big, 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 big. I can only say it so many times. Congratulations, Karl. Great, great work. Love it. Yes, and great results.
Luke, I can't repeat what Luke said. The key lesson here, without a doubt, is that the clarity of the category growth vision. That's the key. That's where it starts. Okay. From that, then the research to support it, the program to execute it, all that happens. Okay. But let's face it, I mean, a key role of the manufacturer has to be to present the category growth vision. Retailers don't have that level of expertise or that perspective. So manufacturers that don't do their homework on clear category growth visions and then execute it through good category management, again, we're not leveraging the full power of category management. So I think the great story here is the fact that you guys had this very clear vision of how to grow the category, and then you executed it consistently all the way through from, where does it fit in the category, which is a category definition step, all the way through to execution. So again, Karl, thank you so much for giving us an example of one of the key success requirements of good category management, and that is that having a clear category growth vision. So well done, congratulations, fantastic.
Yeah, thanks very much. It comes back to the singular focus that we had. We needed to really just believe once we believed that it was really the future proofing and it was one of the biggest opportunities within the vision. We can often be guilty of trying to do too many things and then losing focus, but it was all about really just backing it and putting all our efforts and resource behind as much as we could behind this one thing. And it's great to see it come to life and go from strength to strength.
Yeah, great, terrific, thanks.
Thanks so much, Karl. Listen, well done, brilliant presentation. Thanks a lot. Let me welcome now Juliana, Juliana is with dunnhumby in Brazil, and Juliana is going to talk about the project which they conducted with Raia Drogasil, a pharmacy chain in Brazil. So we can see your slides, Juliana, if you just put it onto presentation mode, and over to you.
Thank you. So good morning, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Juliana. I'm the category management client lead in dunnhumby for Raia Drogasil. And today I'm going to share with you a bit of our case with the OTC categories that we have implemented with them, using shopper data to have great insights and of course leveraging sales and the consumer loyalty. So first of all, I don't know if everybody here, if everybody here knows RD, so a bit of context. Raia Drogasil is the largest Brazilian pharmaceutical retailer, actually in South America. It's a very strong and consolidated company inside the country, not only for the pharma business, but in Brazilian economy as well. We can see by the results that they have like a strong and steady growth in the last years. Of course, here we have the COVID scenario then make it even stronger, but we have like 15% growth a year for the company. And this is all this information is available for you to check on the internet because Raia Drogasil is listed on the Brazilian stock market. We have also here the performance of the retail sales mix. So we see here that all of the departments have a strong and very and a good performance year over year from 2020 versus 2018. And we are talk about in this presentation a bit of the OTC, the over-the-counter products that in the past year grew 25%. In terms of presence in the Brazilian market, as we saw in this Nestle presentation, Brazil is a continental country, so we have a lot of states. RD now is present in almost everyone. I think they are this month they open the first store in the last state to be like conquered. So in total, we have around 2,300 pharmacies, stores open in the market, and RD has a target of opening more new stores, 250, 260 new stores per year. So it's a store machine. And we can see by the market share here, Raia Drogasil is leading the pharmaceutical retailer with 14% of the market share. RD is and some other chains, they have national presence. So I think here Raia Drogasil is leading with 14%, but we have some other companies that lag behind, like Drogaria São Paulo, Pague Menos, which are those banners that also have national presence in the country. We have very strong regional banners and retailers, but when we look at the market share, of course, Raia Drogasil is the leader. So what we had with the OTC categories, not only with the OTC categories, but with hygiene and beauty category as well. Nestle is also a partner in these discussions that we have, for example, in an hygiene and beauty categories. But here the challenge that we have was to bring a customer-centric approach to the largest OTC categories, because due to the size that I just mentioned to you, RD had large volume of shopper data. So of course they have a lot of information regarding the sales, the state of the sales, where the brand, etc. But they were very focused on sales and fail to extracting value to target the customers better and driving, of course, better better business decision. We have like the most important or the largest OTC categories, as we can see here: pain relief, flu, and gastro. They are very broad in terms of market, in terms of the total of the sales, in terms of assortment. So they have a lot of products, a lot of SKUs. But somehow they are related to each other. When we start this product, we have like this feeling that they were related, but we were never actually analyzed and could prove that with data that these correlations actually exist. So this is one of the challenges that we have, to identify these correlations. With these correlations, evaluate the assortment that we have now and what should be the best assortment to fit these correlations. And of course, with that, optimize the product display and the flow, bringing this customer-centric approach to the shelf. So what RD demand in this project, this initiative was to understand if there was like an ideal way or set to visualize these products and at the same time respect the behavior of the customers that we had identified in our analysis that I am just going to present right away. And with that, the main objective was to improve the shopping experience for the consumer. For RD, of course, was boosting the sales performance, and at the same time, we were also looking at the shopper loyalty. Not only in terms of we have more consumers that are loyal to RD, that are loyal to these categories, but the consumers that we have already tagged as loyal, they were increasing their shops and the way they interact with Raia Drogasil in this category. So this is the main challenge that we have. So what we did at the first time, we of course had to have a clear understanding of the customer behavior to create some way of connecting these with the planogram. So we have made like 3 different steps: the discover, the connection, and the implementation. In the first one, we try to understand how these 3 categories were related somehow. So we use a lot of analysis that our shop, our tool, the dunnhumby tool called the shop, you have run a lot of reports to identify some behaviors in basket behaviors, in the way the consumer is buying the category, the way the consumer is changing category for others, exchanging brands, creating like complementary uses of some categories. So here, just to an example, when we look for at the flu, the cold category, we can see that the main subcategories inside these categories, like the capsules of the flu relief, like those day and night pills, etc., and the nasal spray to act on the congestion relief, right? So when we look at the flu and the cold category, those were the most important ones and the most relevant, but we can see that together with these categories there were a lot of new and complementary categories that maybe could be grouped together as a whole flu and cold universe of products. So for example, we have the sore throat, the pastilles, the syrup that we have for throat, the pills for headache, for general pain, that sometimes is used when the person has cold, has flu. Products from allergy categories, because sometimes they use as a way to avoid. And also in terms of prevention, we could see also some products and subcategories of vitamins. So vitamin C, vitamin D, immunization products, etc. So our job here at this discover phase was to identify this extended universe of the category, to understand how the consumer, the customer, is understanding the category. Because one thing is what we from the business we create and we divide the categories. Another thing is what the consumer actually understands and how the consumers buys this category. So this was the first phase of this initiative, the discovery phase. Once we have created like this universe, so we have the pain relief universe, the flu universe, the gastro universe, we use our tool to create, to design the customer decision tree, considering this extended universe. And in this consumer decision tree, we try to analyze the performance, the category performance, through different perspectives. So, for example, we try to explore the driver decision from branded products versus generic products. We try to explore like the product ingredients or the product action, if it's a product specific for a region of the body, for one symptom, for example, or if it's a more holistic and generic product. We also look into the division of products sold in boxes and products sold in blisters, to see how are the consumer behavior in terms of this decision. The final user, for example, it's a product for adult consumption or for kids consumption. Also, like the types of the pain, this is more related to the pain relief. We have a lot of types of pain. So we have general pain, we have headache, we have period pain, we have back pain, muscle pain. So we try to understand how the consumer was taking decisions of buying on the category. And for this, we could design this decisions tree to understand what is really important for the consumer when buying this category. So we could identify those need states or those drivers' decisions, and we went to the final phase, which is creating the intuitive shelf, the intuitive planogram, respecting these need states, respecting those decisions, the way the consumer behaves and the way the consumer shops these categories inside RD. So we try to replicate as much as we can this dynamic that we understand, because before that the planogram was basically like blocked into brands, into subcategories, but not necessarily they were connecting to each other. So here, this last phase of implementation was really how can we translate what we've learned on the connect and the discover phase into the shelf. And of course, we know that there are some decisions that we still must respect in terms of commercial negotiations and like agreement, but we try to do this as much, go further as much as we can to respect the customer decision tree. One thing that is very important, and I think my two friends here also said on their explanation, one thing that was really important in this project was working together with the industry, the pharma industry, the CPGs, because through a process of a collaborative category development process. We have actually implemented this as a ways of working on category management inside Raia Drogasil. So PGC here is Processo de Gestão Compartilhada, which is basically joint category management or joint category development, in where even the retailer and the industry, they have clear roles, they have clear responsibilities, they have clear deliverables throughout the year, but the final objective is always the same, that the development of the category inside the retailer. So in the first phase that we were like discovering the insights and trying to make the connections to understand those extended universe, our pharma partners, our pharma captains, they provoked insightful discussions regarding consumption and market trends. Also, they brought some international benchmarks to see that what we were looking at the RD results was somehow connecting what is happening abroad internationally. Then when we were looking into the consumer decisions tree, our reports, our everything that we did to understand how can we translate the customer behavior into the shelf, the industry was responsible together with the retailer of designing the customer decisions tree. So here we have some examples of our tool with the customer decisions tree. So it was never an initiative with just one look, one side. So we built this together. And finally, when we are actually designing the planograms, the category captains and the advisors, they're responsible for proposing these new planograms based on consumer trends and the customer behaviors that we have mapped on our decision trees. So here, of course, they proposed the first draft, let's say, and then together with RD, we were evolving the discussions to understand what works better in each. For example, as Gabriela mentioned, maybe for some cluster, we have to make some adaptations. For some regions or for some categories, we have to make some adjustments. But in the end, during the whole process, the pharma industry, the pharma captains and advisors, they were key to have these implemented and make it happen. So this is very important. One point that I want to bring to reinforce that a joint work is very important to bring the best solution to the customer. And finally, in our results, here we have a picture of our planogram. We can see here that we have like the flu category and the pain category. And when we look, we have the division by all those perspectives that I told. We have explored the decision tree, like the type of the product, if it's branded, if it's generic, if we are selling in boxes, if we are selling in blisters, etc. So this is also reflected here in this planogram. So in terms of the results, I think the most important points that I put here. So we have, first of all, internally, this customer-centric process inside the category management team, inside RD and inside the industry. We have, of course, a better in-store customer experience because the navigation, the category navigation was easier, was clear, was more connected to the consumer. For the teams, the store teams, the store staff, it was easier to have a product repositioning and also a easier shelf replenish because the things were clear, the products were clear, the location, they were well displayed and organized through the shelf. And of course, in terms of the main results we have here, we have the delivery of the 4.3 sales uplift on the pilot stores, because we started piloting these in some stores to check if it was making sense. And then when we spread to the whole chain, to whole RD, we see here those great numbers in terms of the growth on sales and also the increase on units. But I think for us, the main our main goal, our main prize here is what Marcelo De Zagotti, which is the commercial and market VP, said at the end of the initiative, that we were able to move to a customer-centric category management. We used to look at sales information only. Now we look at the customer data to decide new strategies for the category. For me, this is the biggest transformation that we have achieved so far. And we do agree with that, because it was a mindset changing. And now the way we try to work with RD inside the OTC categories, then hygiene in beauty categories, is respecting these ways of working, of always looking to data, always looking to the customer behavior, because in the end, this is how we're going to have better results financially, and also in terms of attending customer needs. And that's it.
Juliana, fantastic.
Thank you.
That was a great presentation, great example. You know, I must admit, you know, when Luke and I first saw your case, our first reaction, which is very traditional, and we should have really blamed ourselves, was to say, these aren't, how can you put these three categories together? I mean, you know, so you know, we looked at it, and then obviously as we read your case and the methodology by which you identified the logical connections from a consumer and shopper point of view, of course, it makes unbelievable sense. So here's a great example of some fundamental principles, right? Firstly, the whole idea of clean sheet of paper, okay? Look at the consumer, look at the shopper, look at the data, talk to them, don't have any bias, and look for new solutions, right? And look what happens. Differentiation. There's no question that this is a new, very differentiating solution that RD has put into place, okay, with the help of you and the suppliers. So again, it's the whole idea of this is a new category definition. If you think of that first step in the category management process, right? Category definition. And we know that if we look backwards, so we always get hung up on the definitions that we've always had, we're never going to improve the category, right? You've always got to look ahead and say, where are those consumer and shopper trends driving the future of that category? How would we redefine the category to capture those trends, and then develop a program to differentiate it and to grow it? And this is a wonderful example of a whole new, you know, it's like a new island popping out of the ocean, right? You know, here's a new category consisting of three interrelated pieces. We know they're interrelated because we've done our research, right? And now we're able to come up with a logical, visible, consumer and shopper, logical presentation. And look what happened. So I think, firstly, it's just a wonderful example of how we have to not get hung up on traditional category definitions. The real growth opportunities are defining the category for the future, not the past. Okay, and that's critical. The other thing that's amazing in this case, I think, is the collaboration. I mean, clearly, I mean, you can't do this without collaboration. Again, as I said, you know, with the other case studies, you know, the suppliers, you know, and with help from outside, you have to have, you know, a vision of where the category is headed. And that then has to be the basis of collaboration, of then taking it to your customers and saying, look, this growth opportunity is good for everybody. Okay. So let's, as you said, let's have clear roles and responsibilities, but common objectives. Okay. And this was a great example of how that level of collaboration really produced just fabulous results. So, congratulations to all you guys. I know you guys facilitated it. But I know it was a very close collaboration between the retailer, a group of manufacturers, facilitated by dunnhumby. So again, wonderful work, congratulations, and a great case study for everybody to learn from.
Yeah, yeah, Brian. I really agree, and I won't repeat everything what Brian said, because he touched on the key points. Really, the definition of the category, the integration in the consumer shopper journey through the purchase decision tree. But what impressed me most, and I know dunnhumby, and I think this is an enormous capability, is by reinventing the category definition, but having the analytical capability to go beyond the sales data and to have multi-source information combined into what is that level of the consumer, how she or he looks into that universe of needs, and bring together the manufacturer's information on insights with the retailer's information. That's consumer combined with shopper, vision with actual behavior, purchase decision tree. And I think this is also a good case where a retailer is taking an initiative to bring the customer centric and involving the consumer knowledge in there. I really love this, and I think dunnhumby is really great at that in several parts of the world. Great job, really. Thank you.
So, thank you so much.
Thank you, Juliana, and well done to dunnhumby and to RD in Brazil. And as we said earlier, it's brilliant seeing category management, great examples of category management in categories separate to traditional grocery, and you certainly replicated that in pharmacy. So thanks very much. Guys, I'm just going to finish with just a call out.
Before you do that, can I just make a couple of kind of closing comments about the whole journey we've been on here for the last year or so? I said earlier that there's no question that, when you look at the work and you look at the downloading of it across so many different countries, category management is alive and well, which kind of says that it's more relevant today than it even used to be, right? So the question is, what does good category management look like? And those of you, if you haven't read the report, you should. You have 14 wonderful learning examples in these case studies of how category management, when it's done with discipline, with commitment, comprehensively, it leads to wonderful quantitative and qualitative results. So I think the point that, if you step back and look at these cases, there's no shortcuts here. None of these cases said, let's do something really simple, let's change the assortment, have a new planogram, and that's it. These cases were complete, comprehensive examples of how category management in its full context, when you do it in the right way, comprehensively, with discipline, step by step, resource commitment to make it happen, look what happens. So I would really, encourage all of you to really study those cases, because there are some fabulous learnings and some principles of good category management inherent in those cases. Okay, so I think I know we have a plan for next year, which Declan's going to talk about, but I just wanted to kind of step back and just simply congratulate and thank all the companies that contributed these wonderful teaching examples, learning examples of good category management from around the world.
And when you say, Brian, thanks so much for that. When you say category management is alive and well, post-pandemic, it has to be. We've had shifts all over in every market and every economy in the world. We've had category shifts, new changes in lifestyle, new shopper behaviors. And what's more is we haven't stabilized yet. We haven't come out of lockdown. So whatever the new normal or new shopper behavior is, it's yet to be defined and it's yet to be stabilized. So I'm just going to put up a couple of slides to show what way we're thinking for next year. And I have a call out for those companies and senior category management practitioners who'd like to get involved. As you know, we're putting together a Catman Network 2022. Our plan is that we'll run 5 webinars per annum. And in those webinars, you can see on the screen there what we're going to focus on. And it'll be a mixture of the case studies, which we've enjoyed so much. And I've received really good feedback from everyone listening through our survey and through emails that you want more case studies, more quality case studies. If there's ever a time for learning about how category management works, it is going to be over the next 12 to 24 months, as we have new categories being defined, new lifestyles being identified, and throw into the mix, we've got online category management to boot. And that's after receiving a huge impetus in terms of the significant increase in online category management. So this is what we're going to try and do in category management, in the category management network for 2022. We're forming a steering group. And I want retailers, suppliers, and service providers out there just to listen up for a moment, because this is how you can get involved, okay? Well, we have a steering group. You can see it's a mixture of ECR representatives, of experts. Great, I'm delighted that Brian and Luke will be part of this steering group. And we want up to 12 companies from retailers, suppliers, and service providers to get involved. Now, what will that get involved? We're asking you to come forward if you'd like to be involved. This is the reason why we think you should get involved and why it will benefit you. We think, global networking with leading category management experts and practitioners is probably the be all and end all in terms of as we try and maneuver ourselves out of the pandemic and the lockdown. I think creating a steering group of like-minded peers would be extremely beneficial. That engagement is vital. Learning from other leaders in category management, developing business opportunities, I'm quite sure, for service providers, presenting to a global audience at webinars, showcasing category management credentials for an organization, and learning from a global stage. And then you have learning about the new category management paradigm, which you've heard Brian and Luke talk about over the course of our 5 webinars. Consumer shopper segmentation and category insights, consumer mobile technology, the battle for the mission. Wow, is that so relevant going forward again? Personalization and targeting, e-commerce, and AI. Okay, so that's why we think you should get involved in our steering group. If you're considering you or someone in your company getting involved, this is the kind of person we're looking for, because we are looking at assembling the best and brightest minds in category management on our steering group. We're looking for well-connected, experienced retailers and suppliers who have the ability to represent their local regions. We want to make sure this is a steering group that's regionally representative. And we're particularly strong now in Europe, North and South America, and Asia Pacific. Hopefully, we'll have the ability to expand membership in the category management network and to identify and communicate the needs of category management in your country or your region to this group. But just critically, an engagement and willingness to invest time for the category management network. We think there'll be 5 steering group meetings per annum. We think there'll be 5 webinars per annum. And it'll be the role and job of that steering group to set the tasks and to define the output of that Catman network. Okay, so I'll share these slides around. I'll share this call out for people to come forward interested in being on the steering group in the Catman network. Our business model we're using is very simple. In the world of ECR, it's not out to drive a serious revenue. We think attending all of the webinars would be free to attend for anybody anywhere in the world, and we're hoping for a small donation from each of the retailers, manufacturers, and service providers who are on the steering group to cover our costs. And that's about it. Okay, so this is the final webinar concluding our first body of work, which was putting together our publication in the review of category management case studies. As Brian and Luke have said, there were 14 brilliant case studies. I'd like to join Brian in thanking all of those companies for participating in the case studies, in addition to the ECR representatives and to the sponsors Hofragga, dunnhumby, and Yagora, who are brilliant in giving us support and backing the publication, particularly the graphic design costs. And especially thank Brian and Luke for your commitment and your brilliant analysis and insight over the last 12 months. I'm looking forward to next year, guys.
Thank you, Declan. You did a fantastic job too, my friend, pulling it all together, keeping the ship sailing in the right direction. So well done, well done.
Well done, Declan. Thank you so much. Great leadership.
Yeah, great leadership.
Thank you, guys. Listen, looking forward to seeing you all soon. Looking forward to putting the draft of the Catman Network for 2022 into place, and especially looking forward to hearing from our listeners on the webinar today and expressions of interest in being part of this journey. I think it's going to be exciting. I think it's going to be fun. I think we're going to learn a lot and discover a lot together. So stay safe, everybody. I'll talk to you soon.
Happy holidays to everybody. Okay, take care. See you next year. Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.